I ran my first two D&D sessions as a brand new DM about 6 months ago. And I can tell you this. For my very first session, I overprepared a little bit too much. And for my second session, I realized there was something I hadn't prepared for at all. If you are a new DM, hopefully the experiences I had during my first couple sessions will help you out as you are learning and tackling your first sessions. To begin, I decided to actually invest in a published campaign setting. This was just my personal preference. I eventually would love to make an entire homebrew world, but I felt like it took a bunch of time and weight off my shoulders, so I could put a little more time into making sure I knew the rules and my table knew what was going on, and just overall being able to run the game efficiently. Now, this campaign setting covered multiple regions of the continent. And let's just say I took it upon myself to read the entire book, which included all of those regions of this continent. I am not the best at being able to recall what I read the first time, so I took personal notes on every region to have at my disposal at my computer mid-session in case I needed them. I definitely would not have wasted my time on this if I could do it again. I ask myself now, why in the world would this be something that would come up? But the me before session 1 kept asking myself, what if they asked though? What if they asked specifics on another region? I wanted to make sure I was prepared for those wild questions that they might ask, like, oh, what is in that region way down there in the south that we haven't been to or even know what the name is? I didn't want to not know. So like I said, I took notes on it. Well, they didn't come up. So I spent a couple hours doing something that had a very, very low % chance that they would even be brought up and massively overprepared for it. Session 2 came that following week. My party was going through their first small village, and I had a visual reference for this town. It basically had the essentials. It had just a small town hall, a blacksmith, and a small apothecary, like a wood cutting store. Basically anything a small village would need to kind of survive and thrive. And I had that all planned out. The party was heading into this village, and for the most part, they were primarily just going through it. There was going to be a little information that they could get that just pertained to the plot, and they would be moving on. As I described this cute village, one of my players decided to talk to the blacksmith and do a little shopping. And he said, what do you got? And I basically described that he had most of the essentials, armors, weapons, arrows, anything you would need from a basic standpoint for weaponry, this guy would pretty much have. And he, as that conversation continued, he asked, do you have any magic items? I was like, it threw me just a little bit off guard. There were so many questions I hadn't even thought of that flooded into my head, which continued for the rest of the session. Now, during that dialogue, I said, no, I don't have any magic items. I figured this small a town, he wouldn't really have anything magical. So the dialogue kind of ended and we kind of continued on. But questions rushed through my head just throughout the entire rest of that session. For every shop, do I need to have some magic items ready to go? I questioned myself, should a village this size have one? Should a medium-sized town have one? A large town would certainly have one. However, would it be known publicly? Or would it be kind of kept hush-hush? Or the opposite, maybe there is actually a magic store that's well known. This is what I learned I needed to dig deeper on for future sessions, and that I needed to prepare a little bit more. Just how available are magical items and weapons in this world I'm making? How many do I need to have prepared and ready to go? Those are the questions I just jotted down during this session, so that way I could focus on learning it for future sessions. As a new DM, there is a lot to learn and I can tell you my first 2 sessions taught me a lot. I was both overprepared and underprepared at the same time in different aspects of the game. For future games, these little things will be easier to deal with, but for a beginner, they definitely caught me off guard. So if you're new like me and are dealing with this or prepping for your first session, I hope you got a few key takeaways from my experience during my first couple sessions. Let me know in the comments some things you overprepared or underprepared for your first sessions, and as always, good luck on your next session. Thanks, guys.